Welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you, and let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party, guys. That is the best part, so make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. If you'd like to support the channel, head on over to TheIndianJesus.com for your very own official merch. We got shirts, and we even got shower curtains, a bunch of stuff over at TheIndianJesus.com. Guys, we do also have a Discord server that is absolutely free to join 24/7. We are in there hanging out, having interesting conversations. It's a great place to meet people and have interesting conversations. And like I said, it is absolutely free. However, if you are a member of this channel here on YouTube, you just need to scroll right below the video, hit that join button, and there's a few different tiers, but it starts at just $2.99 a month, gets you members only live streams here on YouTube and all that other good stuff. But it also opens up the full Discord server, guys, which is where you really want to be 24/7. Like I said, we are in there. But after every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday stream, we go in there for an after party where we don't have to worry about any YouTube censors, and you are not stuck behind your keyboard. You're actually on screen with me and everybody else. It is a good time. Definitely come and join us. Shout out to Quam Tech in the building. We got King Nirvana. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Shout out to TV Viewers Key. Good to see you guys. Good to see you. What is up? What is up? So, unfortunately, we were supposed to have Thomas Sheedy of Atheists for Liberty back on the channel. He's been here before. Something came up, and so he's not going to be able to join us tonight. And we'll eventually get that going. So instead, we have our boy, CircuitBard, who is an active member of the Discord community, is going to come on up, and we're going to have a debate about whether we should be, capitulating to, we being atheists, should be capitulating to people who believe in God. And so he's a little bit more of a liberal-minded guy, and I am obviously a little bit less of a liberal-minded guy. And so that is the discussion that we'll have. Am I doing a disservice to truth by trying to cozy up with you believers? That is what we will see. But he is just getting off of work, so we are going to just hang out for a little bit. I got some Christian cringe content for you guys, maybe a little bit of as to why somebody might feel the way they do about the religion. Shout out to Brandon Murphy. Said I go to church on Sundays, but sometimes I don't go. Yep, that seems to be the common story, right? The common story. So, this whole thing kind of came to be when I saw this tweet last night. Now, it's actually rather interesting because if you're not familiar, this is Nala Ray. She was formerly an OF star and then had this big come to Jesus moment. And very quickly, she was invited on the Daily Wire to, have a long sit down with Michael Knowles and talk about, all the changes she's had in her life and this and that and whatever. And I just, as an atheist who is right leaning, oh, you coming over here, bud? Oh, Morty's joining us. Shout out to Morty. Yep, they all just heard you hit your head. That's right. Don't forget, guys, every donation comes with a treat for Morty. But yeah, so Nala Ray was decided that she's giving her life to God and all that stuff. And I don't know this woman. I have nothing against her. Good for you if you are doing bad stuff and then you use something that I personally don't believe in to start doing good stuff. Good for you. Great. But the problem that I had was with how quickly everybody was just willing to be like, oh, you're one of us now. You're a good one. And it just seemed like exactly the same type of issue that we saw on the left with the self-ID of transness and people being, I'm non-binary. And be like, oh, yay, oh my God, you're one of us now. And how that just, destroyed our society, basically. Seems like, it might be going the other way where it's just like, oh, real quick, I didn't mean any of that. Actually, I'm a Christian now. And it's like, oh, amazing. And so the interestingly, The tweet itself is actually, the text of the tweet is actually complete bullshit. So let's get into it. It says, Nala Ray update. Nala admits that she lied and her conversion to Christianity was a cosplay to appeal to the male brain. Will Daily Wire and its cohorts admit that they are cosplaying as religious principled conservatives? Now, of course, if we actually watch the video, do we have the community notes on? Because this got community noted to hell, because if we actually watch the video, you can tell that is not at all what this video is about. However, it's still a win for me. So really quick, let's shout out our boy Carl Johansson. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So that's funny. Gon is debating if he should get rid of us, and you just turn it around. Yeah, well, you know. Welcome to the party. King Nirvana said, "Is this in this? She did seem a lot more intelligent than I expected. Maybe I'm a dick for prejudging, but I assumed she talked like a bimbo." Correct, sir. Correct, sir. No, and I mean, you know, that is especially in the context of the whatever podcast, you expect, you know, bimbos. And you know, I certainly am not saying that people can't be legitimate. And I'm not even saying that Nala Ray is not legitimate. But it's just a funny thing. So let's take the text of the tweet that we already saw. Let's take that out of it and just watch the video for what it is and see what it says and go from there.
As a viral creator I went on so many podcasts because I knew the only way to grow my was to be viral. And
okay, so already, if we're watching the video, we're very clear that she's talking about OF, and she's not talking about her conversion, her faith, her beliefs. That's very clear. She's now said OF twice. I know they blocked it out, but the captions are there. So, you know, I didn't make that super clear that despite the fact that the text of the tweet was wrong, I still, you know, there's still a point to be made here. Gonzalez said, what? An OF model outs herself. So that means one of the top religious conservative outlets have to. Well, no, because they had her on. So if she, that's where it's getting confusing, because stick with me. So again, we can clearly see she is not talking about what the tweet was saying. So let's get rid of that and let's just watch the video for what it is.
As a viral creator I went on so many podcasts because I knew the only way to grow my was to be viral. And it's such an oversaturated platform right now. And I've been on it for like 5.5 years. So everything I've said on podcasts is complete clickbait. I did it to go viral to then make money, and it worked. I said whatever I needed to because I understand the male brain, and I needed to make money. And I was like,
wait,
I
so
got
you
taken
basically,
down.
you lied about everything.
Yeah, pretty much. As a viral creator.
So that's the video. That's the video. Again, let's take the text of the tweet out of it. What she just said is, yeah, I'm a person who is willing to lie about my entire lifestyle to make money. So why should I think that you're not doing that right now? I'm not saying that you are. I'm not saying that it has anything to do with OF. I'm not saying it has anything to do with anything except for the fact that you just admitted that you happily, and while you were laughing about it, lied about your lifestyle to make money, and so people would think about you in a certain way. The fact that the tweet is misconstruing what she's saying and making it about her potentially lying about her conversion is irrelevant to me. The fact is, you just said I lied about my entire lifestyle, and so it's funny to me that I think somebody actually, whoever this Adam Townsend is, possibly. And I'm getting a little bit of conspiracy brain here, but purposely saw that this was like, oh, snap, that's not a good look. You just said that you're a liar. You just said that you're a liar. So let's get out in front of this and twist it a little bit and make it seem like we're saying that you're lying about having converted to being a Christian. So that now all the discussion about this clip is, no, that was community note. That was debunked. That was all that stuff. When take the caption away. This woman just told us that she was lying about everything. But now I'm supposed to trust her because she said that she's Christian. What? And it's not just her. Again, she may be completely legit. But the fact is, this is just another way that people are slapping labels on themselves to get positive attention. and it's I don't respect it. I don't respect it. If her conversion is genuine, I respect the fact that she's being true to herself now. Then and she wasn't. But like, I'm not going to hold her up as a champion of what what society should be doing, which is what whatever is doing, what Daily Wire was doing, all that stuff. Shout out to Carl's Frosted Tips. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So she looks so serious with those eyebrows. Yeah. Behave, welcome. So it's a genuine feeling when we hear someone get saved through Christ. Her conversion wasn't genuine, and that's on her. But sadly, it's sad, but personally, I get very happy when someone genuinely converts. And so again, I don't know that she hasn't genuinely converted. That's I do. Maybe you know more about her than I do. But I don't think that having done OF precludes you from being able to turn your life around and find Christ and all that stuff. I'm not saying that again, the point is she admitted to being a liar. It has nothing it has nothing to do with what she was lying about. It doesn't matter that she was lying about OF. She could have been, lying about being a welder. The fact is, she's like, yes, I'm a person who is willingly lying to make money from other people, to make them think a certain way about me. But everybody's just like, okay, cool, you're on our team. And then you wonder why Christianity means nothing. Carl said, I love when the guys on that show shut down the feminists. Yeah, but it's so easy. I mean, come on. Is that really anything to write home about? Well, Tech, so this is what everyone gets for giving a shit about something so meaningless. I'm just glad I don't give a hoot. I am with you. Carl said, I'm either way on Nala. I don't care. But a former corn star should be silent for a while. And I don't even necessarily agree. If she's found this thing and it has really changed her life, why not? Why not go and scream from the rooftops? The point that I'm making is that you guys, as other believers, should be a little bit more skeptical as to be like, okay, maybe, sure. But we've got to see some works first. We've got to see something before you're just in the club. Otherwise, how are you any different than the transes? Shout out to Bill Bradley. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So the issues with the sola scriptura of Protestantism. It allows for a personal interpretation of the Bible, which allows people to reach any conclusion. Bingo. So Nala may believe she is a Christian, but as an Eastern Orthodox, by Andrew's understanding, she is not. They both think they are right. That is religion. That is religion. Quantek said someone's relationship with God should be personal. Any content talking about your relationship instead of the lessons is being vain, in my opinion. Don't pray in public. I agree. Yeah. King Nirvana says low fruit for sure. Low-hanging fruit for sure. It would mean more if that show got better quality to talk instead of the same bimbo clones. Very repetitive. I mean, to be fair to them, I think they do have a decent amount of like normal people on, but those aren't the clips that get, put on TikTok and Twitter. And like, do any of you guys actually watch the whatever podcast? So, we only see the clips and stuff, but that's kind of a lead into, just generally talking more about religion and why it isn't as pure as some people like to make it seem. Hey, shout out to Funk Master General. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Starting us off with our first Swole Stream Super Chat with no question, no comment, just pure love of the Overlord. And of course, the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much, sir. Very much appreciated. Of course, every donation comes with a treat for Morty. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's dive into. I got a couple other things while we are waiting for CircuitBard. Hopefully, he doesn't keep us waiting too long. But we got a bunch of good stuff, and so many of you have either heard or seen when somebody would come into the chat and be like, "Well, that's blasphemy. Your name is blasphemy." And I'd be like, well, no, it's not blasphemy. I'm just calling myself Jesus. I'm not saying that I am the Messiah or anything like that. But turns out, if we, talk to the experts, as it were, then even if I were considering myself to be the Messiah, hold on here. Even if I were considering myself to be the Messiah, then it still would not be blasphemy. Let's grab these real quick. Carl said people have the right in America to pray in public or in private or public. Celebrate the God you love or don't. No one is perfect. Agreed. I just think, you know, to Guantek's point, I think the again, when you're looking at somebody else, if all they're doing is focusing on the outward perception of them, then, you know, maybe it you know, get some skeptical hippo eyes there. Carl said a lot of the woke ideology has its roots in the WASP movement and liberation theology. That's why they are so open. Unitarian Universalists. Yep, that's the WASP white affluent, no, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, right? Bill said also Latinos kids call kids Jesus all the time. Bingo. And they are largely Catholic. Bingo. So that's my go-to. I'm like, so you think that every kid in Mexico named Jesus is blasphemous? But I have here again from the experts. We have I think it is Cliff, I forget his name, Jesus Christ. Cliff Nechtel.
What is blaspheming the Holy Spirit and why is it unforgivable?
Blaspheming against the Holy Spirit means I have played so many games with God that I've reached the point where my heart is so hard. I never hear the voice of God. I am not sorry for the wrong that I've done. Therefore, the only people who've blasphemed the Holy Spirit are those who could give a rip.
No, I would not do that.
They're totally unconcerned because they're totally dead towards God in their spirit. Pharaoh 6 times hardened his heart. Then we read the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart. Well, you take the first 6 times out and you're thinking, what? The Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart? What does that mean? No, Pharaoh hardened his heart.
Thank you.
And I can do that. We all can do that. But if a person has any desire at all to say, Lord, forgive me, of course the Lord forgives them. It's only those who have no desire to ask for forgiveness who have possibly committed that sin.
So why does...
So even right there, if I were to if I were able to be convinced that a God does actually exist and that I should be following his word, then of course I would, bow down in forgiveness. I just don't believe that is the case at this current moment. So my heart is not hardened. My heart is not hardened to that. I just simply don't believe it at this very moment. Gonsex. So people have the right, but even Jesus suggested against praying in public. I'm not talking about literal praying, but the act of flaunting it wherever you go and makes a bad name for the religion. Bingo. Yep.
Does God then harden the Pharaoh's heart? Right, he's already hardening his heart. Why is it that God does this extra thing? I'm now going to harden your heart, as if, like, the imagery I'm getting there. If this is indeed what something like blaspheming the Holy Spirit is and becomes the unforgivable sin, it's almost like God himself is like locking that in. It's like, well, Pharaoh's been hardening his heart. He's been, rejecting God's advances. And so God says, okay, I'm going to grab you by a hold of the heart and I'm going to sort of switch off this possibility for you.
Sounds like
as if God is like doing that to Pharaoh.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, he's not doing that to Pharaoh. It's more a statement that, Pharaoh, you have hardened your heart so much that you are now shutting yourself off from.
But that, hey, shout out to AIM. Welcome to the party. And let's give a solemn dilly for the guilty verdict on, I don't even want to say his name. I don't know his name. I don't remember his name. But the illegal immigrant who had already committed a crime and was not deported and decided to kill a young girl who was just out jogging. Shout out and welcome to the party. But yeah, again, as you're seeing right there, he's saying, like, well, isn't the idea that we could always be open to changing our minds and fixing ourselves, and we're never too far gone? Isn't that kind of the idea? And apparently not. Apparently there's, you can do something where even if while you're living, you decide, no, I want to give my heart to God. Well, God's already hardened your heart. How does that make sense? Carlos Frosted Tip said, I get it can be a lot. I've seen street preachers, like this guy, yelling in the street at festivals. It's not helping the cause. Behave said, I noticed hardening hearts in atheists. They seem to double down. Well, sure. Well, if you're saying that because you've messed up in the past, now you can't ever come into the kingdom of God or whatever, why would anybody try? That doesn't make any sense. Bungmaster, you should say, I'm not the Messiah. I am the Ayatollah of rock and rolla. I don't really know what that means, but it's got a good ring to it. Gonzag said praying in public thing should apply to almost any religion or ideology. Just look at how annoying it is to deal with a crazy woke person pushing their ideas on everyone around them. Yep. Oh yeah, I mean that's Islam sucking is the overarching backdrop to any conversation I have about Christianity. Let's just put that out there. Christianity is better than Islam. They just both suck. But also, the issue with the New Age Christians like Nala is they think just because God forgives them for their past, that means everyone else has to. It's a disingenuous shield to be used by easy women. Yeah, that's a very good point. And yeah, it's just it's too easy. It's too easy. Like it doesn't make any sense. But okay, let's back up here a little bit.
Right.
Well,
No, he's
why
not doing
would
that
he
to
do that?
Pharaoh. It's more a statement that, Pharaoh, you have hardened your heart so much that you are now shutting yourself off from me. No, the offer of Christ, the offer of God for forgiveness is always open to every single human being.
Well, but you just said that it wasn't if God hardened his heart. So how do you know that if we have free will, as you guys claim, then how do you know that the Pharaoh wouldn't then the next day decide, okay, I want to, give my heart to God?
And there are countless illustrations of the grace of God working with some of the biggest wretches on earth. So we don't have to worry about that.
But is it impossible in principle for somebody to have once blasphemed the Holy Spirit and then regret it?
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Because when you blaspheme the Holy Spirit, you don't have the ability to repent. You don't have the ability to be sensitive towards God because you are so hardened, so separated from God. There's no hope for you.
So if there's no hope for you, then again, why would I even try? That's not a good. That's not a good. And I'm not saying that just because that's the way it is that like that Christianity should be made easier for people. But I'm just saying it makes sense why nobody who isn't already a Christian doesn't want to be a Christian when it's like that. Carlos said just watched a Bonhoeffer film from the Wasps at Angel Studios. The whole first half of the film was basically BLM propaganda, way beyond what Hollywood would make. That's the liberation theology link. Yeah, that is. I would not expect that. Usually, the Christian stuff is not based, but very not BLM, shall we say? Buckmaster said, "Have you ever asked a Christian about the lost years of Christ?" Yeah, like why he went from age, what was it? I forget what age, and then he just jumps to like to 30 or something. Yeah, I don't remember what they said. It's been a while, but I would love for anybody to be able to explain that. All right, let's see what Brit's book has to say here.
I actually don't understand why Christians have children. If I truly believed that there was a chance that one or multiple of my children would make choices as such that they would go to hell and be burned forever, like if you really believe that that is a possibility, I would not have children. And an even darker thought, if I truly believed that like children went to heaven, like if something terrible happened to a child, that they would go and be with
Then why wouldn't you kill every child?
Jesus? Like if I believed that, 1000% believed that in my soul, then the best thing that I could do for my children is to, I don't even want to say it because
Yup.
it's so awful, but that
Why is that not the case? Why is that not the case? How does that not make sense?
would be like if I wanted them to go to heaven, even if it meant that I go to hell, I would go to hell forever as a mother if it meant that my children were with Jesus and they were safe and they were in heaven forever. And the same goes for God. If I were a God and I was narcissistic enough to want to be just worshipped all the time, but I knew that the vast majority of my children would go to hell because they either didn't hear my word or they weren't, born into the right religion or whatever the reason was, or they made bad choices because, it's just really hard to be human in this world. Then I just probably wouldn't have created children either.
Again, how does that not make sense? Dave said, God told his people to preach that nobody can be saved without first repenting and getting saved through Christ. If we don't, we are partly responsible for them going to hell. Okay. Bill said the moral relativism of secularism is wild because it's morally bankrupt to not allow a person the free will to find their way to God. Secular people can't understand fixed morals. But in the last video, we were just talking about how God was the one who prevented the Pharaoh from ever finding his way to God, even if he wanted to. How does that make sense? She's using she is using her framing of morality. I don't know what that says. Sorry, but her statement is more an indication of her knowing her lack of ability to produce good, God-fearing children. Sounds like her problem. Why is that? Because according to her, she's saying, if I were to be God-fearing, then the best thing for my children would be to send them to heaven. Why don't you feel that way about your children? She's using her own framing of morality, not a Christian's frame of morality. She can't see it's another person's worldview. Yeah, right. That's why we're asking. I feel like this lady's only speaking to the simple-minded Christians who think you're good, you go to heaven, you're bad, you go to hell. No religion is that simplistic. Well, that's why we're talking about it. Bill said murder is a mortal sin in Christian morality. Yeah, but she's saying she's willing to commit that sin and get the punishment of being in hell forever if she can make sure her children go to heaven. But that's not she's admitting that. She's talking about the children, not her. She understands she's going to go to hell. She wants to make sure if her children are alive, there's a possibility that they could sin and not be forgiven and end up in hell. If she kills them, then they are guaranteed to go to heaven. Is that not the case? Do murdered children not go to heaven? Right, but why? Why would the morality reject it? That's the question. That's precisely the question. I know that that's the case. I'm asking you why that makes sense.
So it actually makes no logical sense to me for Christians to be having so many children if you truly think about the eternal consequences of that. So if it doesn't make rational sense, then why does God or Christian parents do this? Okay. God does it for his own glory. Who cares who go to hell as long as, people are singing my praises forever. And then with Christian parents, it's for their glory too. I'm going to have children and they're going to act this way. And that's going to represent well on me. And that's going to glorify me. It's literally a mirror image of each other. How they see God as having children, even though some go to hell for their own glory. That's why they're doing it too.
And Bill's got a great response here, which again is just what we're looking for here. Nobody's trying to win anything. We're all just having a conversation. So from a Christian perspective, you have to allow people the free will to choose. And so then that's the answer there. Then by killing your children, you deprive them of the free will to choose a life with God. Good job. So this is, did I get it? I think I put these in the right order. So this is one that I've always wanted to share with you guys, and I think it's a fun thought exercise. That if you believe in your particular religion, if you flip that and somebody else has a religion that they're trying to not push on you, but just spread. This is Klombadrovism, or I forget exactly what he called it, but. Let's see.
God is real. If he wasn't, Earth wouldn't be here. So you're kind of on the right track. So Earth exists because of Klombadrov, not the Christian God. So billions and billions and billions of years ago, Klombadrov inadvertently created the universe through what can best be described as a bout of flatulence. Now, according to the Elbib, he kind of just let the chaos settle, and once it did, then certain celestial bodies formed, like planets and stars. And once Earth fully formed and life started developing on it, he took a special interest in it. Eventually, he noticed humans develop, and Klombadrov sent Gordon down to Earth. Gordon is his son, by the way. And so Gordon's duty was to just kind of observe us. Gordon really loved humans because of what he thought we were capable of. But he also came to realize that humans weren't always all good. He knew that we were capable of good, but he knew that we weren't always going to choose the right thing. But Gordon loved us so much that he didn't want that to be the demise of us, so he decided to willingly take the burden of our gleep. So now, even if we gleep sometimes, it's okay. We're saved by Gordon. As long as you don't go around intentionally trying to gleep all the time. If you do that, then you'll still probably end up in Flurb with the Florble Glip, and it'll be a whole thing. But Klomodrov still loves you. Hopefully one day you seek him out and you find the Holy Zolpis and your eyes are opened. I'll be praying for you.
So we could take that apart, but you see how easy it is to just flip the arguments that these what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. There's these phrases, these common not parables. I don't know, but the things that you'll hear all the time. God works in mysterious ways, and just the story of the religion can so easily be flipped into another thing, and then you can't argue against that. And so, for somebody honestly looking for what the truth is, if you can't say why Klomodrov is not real and the Elbib is not the most valuable book ever, and that gleeps are actually what sins are, if you can't disprove why that religion is fake, then you can't be mad at people like me asking about why you know that your religion is not fake. It's the same concept. Shout out to VHS201. Welcome to the party. So is it me, or has anyone else noticed how big corporations are reverting back to colorful ads and logos opposed to the monochromatic gray color schemes they currently use? I have not noticed that. But welcome to the party. Context. It sounds a lot like the same story being told for a long time. He just changed the words and names.
Bingo.
Yeah. And again, it's he has a whole series where people are like, no, you're just saying Elbib is just the Bible backwards. And again, he obviously is an atheist and is playing it up, but it's a good thought exercise. Why can't you disprove that religion? If you can't, why is it making you not you, the general you? Why are you so frustrated that you can't argue against that? So we have another one in the same vein here.
Klomodrov isn't real, and the Elbib is just Bible backwards. Okay, sure, I'll bite. Prove that Klomodrov isn't real. Bet you can't. See, in order for you to not believe in Klomodrov, there has to be a Klomodrov for you not to believe in the first place. Everybody knows deep down in their heart that Klomodrov is real. Obviously, you just hate Klomodrov for some reason. You probably had a bad experience with one of his followers, but just because you had a bad experience with...
I promise you, I have heard all of these about God many times. When trying to have a legitimate intellectual discussion, this is what I get.
One of his followers, but just because you had a bad experience with people does not mean that you should turn your back on Klomodrov. He still loves you, and the fact that you can't find any evidence that he doesn't exist just proves that he's real. And did you know that there's actually more historical evidence of Klomodrov existing than there is for Jennifer Lopez? Yeah, look it up. Every time I see someone say that Klomodrov isn't real, it just solidifies my faith in him even more, because the Elbib says that people would ridicule us for believing in him. You're just
wow. How did they know? Fulfilling the prophecy.
Also, Elbib isn't the Bible backwards.
The Bible is the Elbib backwards.
And you know that if you actually read your Elbib. Like, at least read it before talking about it. Honestly, the fact that you're saying that Klomodrov isn't real is proof enough to me that you've never read the Elbib even once. You're more than welcome to not believe in Klomodrov, but the fact that you went out of your way to attack us and our beliefs and our God, whatever happened to respecting everyone's religion? This isn't right.
Isn't that obnoxious? Isn't that absolutely obnoxious? That is a very common thing for someone who is not a believer, who is not actively trying to convert people. And so another purpose of showing you this is that I understand that you guys are a bit more high-minded than some of the people who are leaving comments like that on videos like that. But in the same way that you accept that, despite being an atheist, I'm not, one of the bad ones, that there's a lot of bad ones out there. And I'm not here saying, nuh-uh, Christian or atheists are actually all great people. I'm like, yeah, I know. Atheists usually suck. And so I just want you to see that even though you and the people that you know and the Christians that you know and the Christians that you spend time with and all that stuff may not be bad people, there's a hugely different side to all of this that is, different depending on who you are. Let's check this one. So the comment said, does he read it?
Jesus died for our sins. He did the most loving thing in history. Did he though? And was it?
Did he though? Oh, we got one in the wild. We got one in the wild. That never happens. Dilly dilly. Behave said, love you, and I hope you get saved through Jesus one day. I'm not perfect at all, but I genuinely care about people, though. I said, shit, me too. Thank you.
Thing in history. Did he though? And was it though? If he died for our sins, then why doesn't everybody just go to heaven automatically? And even if you say that he died just to get rid of original sin, how come the consequences of original sin are still around? Things like painful childbirths and menstruation. How come we still have to kill things in order to eat? What exactly did Jesus dying on the cross actually do for us? And really, was it the most loving thing in history? What did he actually give up? He didn't stay dead.
They are, Am. That's exactly what I was just saying. They are. They're. When CircuitBard comes in, we're gonna have a more high-minded conversation. I'm doing my best here. He dropped out. Thomas dropped out this morning, so I'm doing my best here. But that is exactly the point. That the low-hanging fruit is what most people think of, what most people know, and just because you are more high-minded than that, and just because other people that you spend time around are high-minded, doesn't mean that Christians are high-minded. The point is, there are people out here behaving like this, representing your beliefs. That's what I'm saying. Because I understand the cynicism, but in many of these established religions, there are crossovers with events in the real world. Ancient writers didn't just make history books recording just facts like we do today. So anything written in period, often there is facts and myths and hyperbole and comedy and drama all mixed up together, which is exactly why we want to know which parts of specifically religion is fact and myth and hyperbole and comedy and drama, and which part is the truth. That's exactly the point.
He actually give up. He didn't stay dead. He gave up a weekend. And saying that he died for us is manipulative.
And so again, let's go back to that's I'm sure you've heard that one over and over. Jesus didn't really die. He just gave up a weekend. Okay, can you even that's low-hanging fruit. But can you refute that? And if you can't, then why are you mad at me or at him? That's the point.
Because we didn't ask him to do that. But if our salvation is tied to believing that he died for our sins, then that is not a gift. Jesus supposedly dying for our sins is a transaction. What this gift feels like is whenever there's somebody selling roses and they hand your girlfriend a rose and then they say, this is totally free, don't worry about it. And they're like, aw. And then you go over to the boyfriend and be like, hey man, pay up. It's not a gift if you got to do something to receive it. And why did Jesus need to die for us to begin with? Why?
That's a great question. King said, but it still had to hurt though. Sure. Yes. Okay. So then if I got my ears pierced. So now if I get another piercing and I say I'm doing it to save you, will you then worship me forever? Probably not though, right? Probably not though, right? Guamtek said, I thought Jesus was basically trying to prove to God that we weren't that bad. He didn't sacrifice himself to get rid of sin. No religious scholar, so I could be wrong. Fair enough. And again, nobody's trying to prove anybody right or wrong or we're sharing ideas. And when CircuitBard comes in, that's when we're going to be talking more specifically about should we get over God. Bill said, so he died and was resurrected. The resurrection was the means of proving Jesus is the Son of God. I think it fulfilled one of the prophecies, but he died and was resurrected. And said, this guy's an idiot. This is called projecting a narcissistic perspective onto something and he doesn't like because it's bigger than him. King said, if you die and come back, I genuinely would. Well, I mean, how do you know he actually died? then we get into the deeper stuff. That's exactly that point. Bill said that is an important distinction to Christians. Fair enough.
Why was that even a thing? First of all, I didn't eat any no fruit in a garden that somebody told me not to eat. Why should I have to pay for somebody else's mistake? And to take that even further, why did somebody need to die to fix that mistake? Why did it need to be a different person other than the person who made the mistake that needs to pay for the mistake? But Jesus needing to die for our sins that we did not personally commit is insane. Now, if I were about to take a bullet and Jesus jumped in front of that bullet and took it for me, that would be a little more loving. But there again, only if he doesn't expect something from me in return for jumping in front of that bullet. Because a gift is only a gift if you don't expect anything in return. If you expect something, it's a transaction.
Hey, shout out to Kelly Green. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Said, come to the light side. Never. Well, all you gotta do is convince me. All you gotta do is convince me. That's it. That's it. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party.
That's why I gave back my membership card to the Jesus fan club, because he didn't do anything for us if he expects to get anything back. You see, because if Jesus really wanted to do everybody a favor, he could have just come to earth and said, look, everybody, all debts forgiven. Everybody is free from sin.
Okay, but behave again, addressing what he said. If I never asked him to do that. So if I cut my finger off and I say, I'm doing it for you. Okay, maybe I can't give you eternal life, but like, if that's the part that we're talking about, if we're suffering for us and all that stuff, then why is that different? That's again, the point is that these are very low hanging fruit questions that are people think about, people ask, and don't seem to be able to get good answers. Because all of the if you believe this, then this all ties back down then to, how do you know that? Oh, it's in the Bible. Okay, how do you know the Bible is true? All of this stuff boils down to all of that, and maybe you have a perfect explanation for it. But just as when we talk about politics, there's not a lot of people reading the economic policy of this, that, whatever. People are focused on the things that are right in front of them. It's the same thing. They'll say Christianity is not just about love and tolerance and acceptance. The Bible also speaks of righteous justice. This New Age version where Christians are not also warriors of God is foreign to the vast majority of Christians in history. Yeah, and well, that's again why I don't think that we look at someone like a Nala Ray and she is just as pious as the Pope or something. Then like none of it makes any sense. You didn't really compare an ear piercing to a beat. No, I said I said I would cut my finger off. All right. I mean, it's not perfect, but the point is that you are you're saying if it hurt. Okay, so if somebody does something that hurts for you, then you owe them. That's the point that you're trying to make, and that's not a point that you actually believe in. Kelly said he was probably smoking hot, and Adam was like, "Go ahead and eat it. It's not me doing it." As we all do. As we all do. All right, let's say what time is it? All right, let's move on from this guy. What else we got here? Oh, this girl's spicy. This girl's spicy.
So this is one of those questions where if you ask multiple people, you're going to get multiple different answers.
Oh, so it says, what gets me is, where did everyone go before Jesus? Was heaven and hell not an option until Jesus?
Ask multiple people, you're going to get multiple different answers. I've had some people try to tell me that no one went to heaven before Jesus. Like everyone who died just went straight to hell. But then my question to that is, okay, so these so-called righteous people who were like God's favorites and whatever, like Noah, Moses, David, like they all went to hell. All the shit that they did on earth. Now, granted, they did some fucked up shit. And so I guess they're not the best examples, but they are God's favorites. And so it would be weird if God sent them to hell because he hadn't yet sent his son yet. Like, I personally don't think that would line up with this idea that like God knows everything. Like,
so do we believe that the characters, so to speak, of the Old Testament went to hell? What? King said, if they die and come back, I would follow. I was just saying because you asked about would you follow? I'm just talking. I'm not religious myself, but hey, but again, I don't. That's not true. If or the not this part, the other part. So you moved the goalpost because you said it had to hurt, and then you moved it to, well, if you die and come back, like, okay, well, if you have to die and come back, that's a very different thing then. But it hurt. Funkmaster said you'd have to let someone else cut it off, whichever fingers they choose. All right, so yeah, if somebody else cuts off my finger, then you guys will worship me forever. I would hope not. I would hope not. That would be very weird. So I think everyone went to heaven because they did not have the option to accept Jesus as their personal saviors. Is what I heard. Well, that's convenient. Shul is where they went then. Multiple levels of hell. Okay. Bill said at least went to heaven if they lived as best they could in a world without Jesus. Does that apply to the current Amazonian tribes who've never been introduced to Jesus? Again, just asking questions. I don't know this stuff. You guys are the experts here.
Think that would line up with this idea that like God knows everything. Like, well, they died before I decided to send my son to save everybody, and so I guess they have to go to hell even though they were my favorites and were super righteous. I guess there's no other option. That sounds fucking dumb. And then there's people who are like, no one goes to heaven and no one goes to hell until Jesus comes back. Everyone who has died like since then is just, in limbo, I guess. But then I think about 2 Kings chapter 2, where Elijah, one of God's favorites, is literally just like ascended into heaven. He's just walking on earth, and then God is like, it's time, and just grabs him and pulls him into heaven. So people did go to heaven before Jesus came and died and shit, unless God pulled Elijah into limbo, which wouldn't make any fucking sense. Like, just let him die like everyone else. What would be the point to doing that? So with that theory in mind, the only people that are in heaven right now is Jesus and Elijah, who was like pulled up. So that wouldn't make any sense really either. So I don't know. I think people haven't figured it out yet.
And so again, even as Bill is talking to these scholars, like, okay, maybe, but just why doesn't everybody know this, and why doesn't everybody agree on this? And again, it at some level it always falls apart. And I get it that faith is a part of the picture. I get that, but this is my point: is that you have to be able to see other people's perspective. That if they don't have faith, you can't force yourself to have faith, and that's where we're coming from. Bill says anyone that does not have the ability to accept Jesus through no fault of their own just has to live as best they can, is what he was saying. Well, does that not apply to me then? Why would that not apply to me? I've done everything I can in my ability and my that I know how to do to try to have a relationship with God, and that hasn't happened. So you're saying that despite being an atheist, I would go to heaven? Kelly said, this is why churches exist, to correct people's loose interpretations that make no sense. But even the churches don't agree. Bill said there are answers to all of these questions. Christianity is like the most debated and studied topic in all of human history, literally. Agreed, but why then are there are so many different answers? You would think that if it's been so debated and it's so true, then with more debate, we would have less and less answers. Over time, there's been more and more different answers. I said, again, I'm probably wrong, but I thought it was simple: good equals heaven, bad equals hell before Jesus. Jesus opened the door for more nuanced judgments for every individual. Okay? And said, yes, because God doesn't condemn those who are non-believers unknowingly. Oh, talking about the, I am absolutely not making the choice not to believe. That is incorrect, ma'am. That is absolutely incorrect. That is absolutely incorrect. I have done everything I can to try to be convinced of this thing, but I can no easier choose to believe than you can choose not to believe. So this is incorrect. So if we agree that anybody who has the ability, anybody that does not have the ability to accept Jesus through no fault of their own, just has to live as best they can. If that's the case, then I'm going to heaven. I'm doing everything I can. It's not my fault that my brain won't accept this this claim. I promise you, it's not from not trying. King said, me saying had to hurt was a response to the video the guy exchanges only gave up a weekend for us. But yeah, exactly. That's okay. So he gave up. Okay, so I'll sit in my room with no electronics and just sit there and then you know what I mean? And like at each point, we're just moving the goalpost over and over and over. Special rules for God. Shout out to Equality and Deference because of vagina. Said, interesting question. If stupid people need to have an imaginary friend to have meaning and ethics, then no need to abolish theology. I mean, I agree. I don't want to abolish theology. I just want it to fade into mythology where it belongs. Bill said, the Amazonian tribe has never been introduced to Jesus, so they cannot choose to accept or reject. You have to be introduced so you can accept or reject. But again, that's not a choice. If I ask you to accept or reject or have faith in the fact that there's actually been another dog that I've had this entire time and you guys didn't know, and if you believe that, then you'll get all the all the goodness of heaven. You don't have the ability to just decide to believe that. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. You either are convinced of things or you're not convinced of things. That's not a choice that you make. Quality is picking up after Guam said, good evening to you, you beautiful bastards. Thank you. Welcome to the party. Behave said, all these are valid questions and there's answers for them. It'll take much more time than we have, but yes, there's answers. The good thing is you're asking and seeking. I'm trying. Hey, shout out to Clay. Welcome to the party. So I do believe in Jesus Christ, and I don't go to church every Sunday. That does not stop me from believing in a higher authority, and that is Jesus Christ. And from my own experience of going to church, I've encountered hypocrisy in the church. Oh yeah, I think we all have. Welcome to the party. Just got a DM from CircuitBard. He should be here shortly. Behave said, if a father gave up his life for his child, would that not be a big deal? It would just be a guy who died one day? No? What did I say that would imply that? Plumtag said, I guess the Amazonians are still operating under the simple good, bad God. Or maybe they have their own. Bill said, you have the free will to accept or reject Jesus. This is the basic tenet of Christianity. They think you can choose. And again, we know neurologically, that is not how the brain works. That is simply not how the brain works. Again, choose to believe that I have another dog upstairs. Choose to believe that I have a horse upstairs. You cannot be convinced of that. You cannot be convinced of that. There's nothing I could say or do that would make you believe that, because you know that you would be aware of that somehow. Clay goes on to say, you pretty much know the type of people that I'm talking about, the Sunday Christians who go to church, but after church, slip back into their sinful behavior. Yep, but that won't stop them. That won't stop them from morally grandstanding when it becomes convenient. And said, if that's the case, then how do you expect to replace Christianity with atheistic moral compendium if believing is not a choice? Because you don't need to believe in facts. You can just know them. If you know that, hey, if I put this knife into that person's face, they are going to die, and dying is not the thing that we want, there's nothing you have to believe. You just have to know and understand how that's going to work out. Faith is not necessarily a good thing. I don't think faith is a good thing at all. I mean, we all have to have faith in certain things that we don't know, but we should not be basing our lives on things that we don't know. Hey, Funk Master General again. Oh, Morty's he's chilling out. So there's no other dog, only the one true overlord. His name is Morty, ruler of all things. And there's his treat. Thank you, sir. Oh, let's get a little yummy. Thank you, sir. That's two, baby. Thank you, sir. Shout out to Carlos. Welcome to the party. Said, it's not if you accept or reject. Jesus says, you didn't choose me, but I chose you. You have to be chosen by God. Oh, okay. So there's nothing that I could do. It's just up to God whether or not I get saved or not. Even if I'm a bad person or I'm a good person. Oh, okay. So I'm learning. Shout out to Hugh Janus. Welcome to the party. Good to see you. What is free will? Great question. I have no idea. It seems to be the ability to make decisions unimpeded. But yeah, not really sure. Great question. What, you want to come back over here? Yeah, come on over here. Well, we're not gonna get another one, but what? What? Come here. No? Yeah? Okay, there we go. He's indecisive. King said, you for sure got a secret house, you son of a bitch. Okay, so what if I said, nuh-uh, I tricked you, and it's actually 2 secret horses? Again, any way you take it, you cannot choose to not believe that. If that's what you believe, you can't choose to unbelieve it. That is not how belief works. Bill Bradley said, I don't know how you avoid moral relativism, which can end and allow for almost any behavior with enough mental gymnastics. I'm an atheist struggling with these questions right now. So, unfortunately, Sam Harris has, gone off the deep end, and maybe was always there. But, they say broken clock is right. Oh, let me update our banner here for our boy, Funk Master General. Thank you so very, very much for sponsoring this and so very many other streams. But yeah, so Sam Harris had a great notion of what is morality to begin with. And so if we are talking about morality and we're not talking about the spectrum of behavior, that is the behavior that costs the worst suffering for all people across all time, versus the behavior on the other side of the spectrum that creates the most flourishing and well-being for all humans throughout time. If that's not the spectrum that we're talking about, then I don't know what you mean when you say morality. So if we agree that that's what we're talking about, then very clearly it is objectively more moral towards the more flourishing and well-being to not kill people, and more towards the suffering if you kill people. So just like the game of chess, again, stealing Sam Harris's idea here, but there's nothing inherent to the universe that is the game of chess. We made it up. If we wanted, we could, make it a completely different thing, and that would be chess. But we've decided, okay, chess is this. You have this many pieces. You go this. Blah, 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 blah. That's chess. Now that is an objective reality. Objectively, when you say chess, there's not any question as to what you're talking about. And so there are objectively better moves than others within chess. Even though chess is not inherent to the universe. Morality is the same way, or it could be, as long as people understand that is the game we're playing. Quality said, if one cannot reject Jesus without knowing him, then his appearance only negatively affected salvation. Wow. If one cannot reject Jesus without knowing him, without knowing about him, then his appearance only negatively affected salvation. That's tough. I definitely agree. I mean, I think I agree. I've never heard that before, but it's landing like an agreement. Can anybody here? Let me put this up here, and you guys can read this. We'll read it together. No, we'll do that. Okay, and that. So we are talking about this right here. Oh. If one cannot reject Jesus without knowing about him, then his appearance only negatively affects salvation. What do we think about that? What do we think about that? I'm trying to think if there's a reason that I disagree. Again, this is the thought process that you should have when you are confronted with new ideas. That, oh, that sounds good. I like that. So what I want to do now is, okay, can I knock that down? Can I find a reason that it doesn't make sense? Okay, Kelly says it doesn't make sense. Go ahead. Why does it make sense? If one cannot know, one cannot reject Jesus without knowing about him, his appearance only negatively affected salvation. Why doesn't that make sense? Oh my goodness. Shout out again to why does Guantek get credit for it? Either way, Morty gets a treat. Thank you so very, very much. Very much appreciated. We are now 3 out of 10, 7 more, and I'm on the floor, baby. 7 more, and I'm on the floor for the swole stream. Bill said, pointing to macro issues, more related to evolution than morality, is not the big brain argument Sam Harris thinks. Pointing to macro issues related to evolution. I don't. What do you mean by this? Pointing to macro issues more related to evolution than morality is not the big. Okay, I don't know what that means. Kelly, it said his appearance has nothing to do with salvation. Well, okay, because we were saying before that if you don't know Jesus, it's just about being a good person, right? Is that what you're saying? Knowing who he was is not connected to. Okay. I think he's got us equality. I think that's right. Based on what we've been saying, if somebody doesn't know, one cannot reject Jesus without knowing about him. But knowing who was not connected with the don't need a painting. Yeah, but that's not what we're saying. Is use your phone, dude. Come on, dude. I can't do no. Sorry. More issues, of course. Why would I ever expect that people would be here when I need them to be here? Okay, but his appearance. We're not talking about his appearance, but we're talking about not his appearance like what he looks like, but him appearing in your consciousness. So if you don't know about Jesus, then okay, so if we have two people who live exactly the same lives morally, they, well, let's just say that it's a like a video game level of, points, and they both get the same amount of good points. One of them doesn't know about Jesus, so all we can judge them on is their points. And so if they get enough points, you're in heaven. But the other person lived exactly the same life, but knew about Jesus, but was not convinced. Now this person goes to hell simply for the appearance of the concept of Jesus. So nope, go back. Yeah, knowing. Equality says knowing Jesus adds extra steps for salvation. If you don't know Jesus, then you just have to be a good person. If you know Jesus exists, or if you know about Jesus, then you not only have to be a good person, but you have to accept Jesus as your savior, all of that stuff. So yeah, it is ergo. Yeah, without him, it is easier. Bingo. Well done. Bill Bradley said not killing is a macro issue related to evolution seen in all grouping species. Bees don't need morality not to kill. Okay, but I was just using that as an example. So you can bring it down to any level. And so we could talk about the idea of being mean to somebody to look good in front of another person. That's pretty micro, I would say. That's not a good thing. Just based on the selfish reasons that people will understand that, oh, just like we started the whole show off, oh, you're somebody who will lie about things to make people think a certain thing about you. So it doesn't have to be killing. I just use that as an example. So the question then goes on to you. Is there anything that you could find that doesn't apply to what I said? If you can find one example that doesn't apply, then that knocks down my entire argument. Kelly said it's the morals and actions and the life of Jesus that are what matters. It says that in the Bible. Okay, why should I care what it says in the Bible? Yeah, acknowledgement, not appearance. There you go. It was better to have never known him if you turn away from his ways. Exactly. Yeah. Bill said I did. We're sex work. Which is a greater societal good, legalize or criminalize? So you're saying this is a micro, or just so I'm clear, this is an example that doesn't fit with what I said about issues of margins like sex work. I'm confused. Number one, me not having the answer right now doesn't mean that the answer doesn't exist the same way. You not having answers about the Bible doesn't mean that those answers don't exist. So let's just put that up there. But either way, either it is societally better to legalize it or to criminalize it. There is an answer to this question that doesn't come from God. So how does this not apply to the scale that I said before? One of them, legalizing sex work, either will move us closer to people suffering or closer to people flourishing. So how does this not fit on that scale? Hugh said, I think the issue with this scenario is that, yes, you can be a good enough person to get into heaven on your own, but according to the principles of Christianity, almost no one can get in on their own. And fair, but conceptually, there we go. Conceptually, the problem is that even if somebody were, then if it doesn't count, then why should anybody try? Okay, why should I care what Peter says? Bill Bradley said sex work is legal. Right. Again, I don't know the answer, but there is an answer, and you don't need God to have that answer. Behave said many Muslims are converting to Christianity because God is appearing before them. Even children of terrorists. It's happening all over the Middle East. You can hear stories on YouTube. There's people converting away from Christianity as well. That's a very common thing and much more common. And actually, people becoming Muslims is a way more common thing than Muslims converting to anything else. Gonzaga said this also takes out the idea of limbo, which would be where those who never knew would go. I thought you said if they never knew. Yeah. So where does the idea of limbo come from? And where do we, all that stuff? All that stuff. It don't make sense. Is there? I'm not sure that there is. Germany legalized it and sex trafficking increased, but violence against sex workers decreased. Okay, but either way, if legalizing sex work is the answer, then just because there are bad things that happen, then it's a utilitarian question. So even if that's not the case, or even if sex workers or violence increased, then either that's not the better option, or then it would have been worse with the other option. That's it. But look who we got. We got our boy going by Cybercore. Okay, welcome to the party. I think you are muted.
Hello. Can you hear me?
What is going on?
I've had so many technical difficulties. It's been awful.
Glad you made it. Glad you made it. Do you have anything to shout out for the people? Any channels, YouTube or social media, anything like that?
No.
Beautiful. All right. Well, let's dive in. We got a couple new people here. Let's say hello. First, we got Day Video in the building. Welcome to the party. Good to see you. And hey, look who we got. Oh my goodness. He is back. Nick Luchetti in the building. Oh, so good to see you, brother. I feel so bad. Thomas was to be here right now. He was supposed to be here right now, but he couldn't make it today. But we are going to make that happen. Welcome back, man. It is very, very good to see you. All right, Mr. Cybercore. So we had we started a little bit of a discussion yesterday, and we wanted to bring it to YouTube. So why don't I just throw it to you? And we would talk about we were talking about cozying up with Christians. Why don't you talk about your beliefs or lack thereof, and then we can move from there.
Sure. Well, I consider myself an atheist. I'm agnostic towards the word agnostic.
Fair enough.
And I have a general feeling that when it comes to lawmaking and just standard humanitarian values, those things are stronger when we base them on reason and practicality than when we base them on, say, a religion or something like that. But I need you to clarify some things, and I guess we can get into that, like Christian values and stuff like that.
Yep, that was a point of contention. So I guess we could start there. I guess you had the question, what exactly do you mean when you say Christian values? And so when I'm talking about Christian values, I'm usually talking to a Christian, and so it is a shorthand way to talk about the values that we both seem to care about. Meaning grace, love, community, family, all of these types of things that may not be inherent to Christianity, but are very central to that religion.
Okay, what values would you include in that?
So again, specifically, we'd have love, compassion. We'd have family. We'd have tradition and ritual. I would say grace and forgiveness, things like that. I mean, do you? I mean, we could sit here. I could give you a whole list, but where are we going with this?
Yeah, I was wondering because it's like, I guess those can be Christian values. I guess just as an atheist, as I'm sure you understand, there's an itch in the back of the teeth when I call them Christian values, considering other Christian values that we often don't acknowledge when discussing such things.
Yeah, absolutely, and I definitely agree with that. And but I think more important than being technically correct all the time, because again, I'm willing to have the discussion and dive into the fact, like, well, are these values is the value of compassion specifically a Christian thing? And I would say no, that is not unique to Christianity, but that is a big part of Christianity, along with a structure of ideas that I think exists within Christianity that I believe can exist outside of Christianity. But when I'm talking to Christians, it's a very easy way to get them to understand which values I'm talking about by just saying Christian values. And so I guess the goal of getting people understanding where I'm coming from so that I can then spread my ideas is more important than being technically correct about what they think, where they think the values came from in the first place.
I mean, you've got something there, sure. I don't think, because I actually can't see the title. But I saw something about, do we need God, or why don't we get rid of God?
Yeah, I just threw something in there. Should we get over God? Should we get over
good
God?
Luck.
Well, yeah, I know that's the goal here. But why is so? Let me then turn it back on you then. Why specifically is it so? Why does it give you that itch to use the phrase Christian values?
Because I prefer humanitarian values. I feel like that's more widespread and something that people know what you mean when you say it. Oftentimes, I would say that they're considering the same things that if you're talking about like the best of Christian people, because we both know there's plenty of good Christian people. Like no one's here saying everyone under a religious banner is bad or misguided or anything like that.
Absolutely.
But everyone can kind of relate to that. But especially going into, I guess, political discussions, when you refer to them as Christian values, I feel it is almost giving Christianity a leg up. And as you yourself have said, you're more so saying that when you're talking to Christians.
Mm.
Why?
Because we already agree on those values. And so when my goal is to get them to widen their perspective that, hey, even somebody who doesn't believe the things that you believe can also have these values, then we can talk about the Christian values instead of taking the time to go down, well, is this actually a Christian value? Or do you consider that a Christian value? And which is an interesting conversation I'm willing to have if somebody wants to have it. But again, when I'm going back to the idea of, hey, other people who are not Christians can behave this way and they can be on your team. And especially when there is, the liberal wokeness that to speak shortly, all the stuff that, the culture war stuff that we don't like. When all that is going on, then that's a more important conversation to people on this side of the aisle.
Maybe at any given moment, but eventually I feel like that moment changes as people change. And I feel by granting that Christian value, that banner and that homage, I feel it can kind of muddy things further down the road, because there's an assumption. Well, the assumption made that we all agree on what Christian values or humanitarian values are, and we don't.
I agree.
So
how does not?
So when
So how does saying liberal values or humanitarian values, how does that fix that issue?
It detracts it and separates it from dogma.
Say again?
It separates it from the what I believe to be a dogmatic belief, a religion. It separates those values and makes them stand on their own. And if the values are really worth anything, I would say that they don't need to be called Christian values to stand on their own. But if you consider them Christian values, now they are a part of this honor that you're upholding. When you speak of those values, you are upholding Christianity with them.
Fair enough, but they are already upholding Christianity themselves. Like, me saying Christian values to a Christian is not making them more Christian. It's just helping me to open up their mind to, hey, somebody who's not a Christian can have these values. And then organically, then when they become, well, I mean, Christian and other people who are on the right side of politics and in America, and well, that's how then the name of Christian values, or the label of Christian values, just fades away. Instead of trying to say, no, they're not Christian values, like they are. That's not an argument that I can win.
Well, but I also don't think the Christian values will ever fade away. It's the religion that won. For now.
I was gonna say again, but as I've been saying, Islam is a problem. Islam is a problem, and trust me, liberal, conservative, Christian, or atheist, we are all gonna be on the same side when the Islamists are trying to kill us all and take over the world.
Yeah, but I feel like people 1,500 years ago were saying the same thing about Christianity. Like, we gotta get these Christians in line, dude. They keep on doing this crusading stuff. Because it really comes down to, I feel the lenience to grant the title Christian values really does come from the popularity of Christianity. It rings to me as having to play ball with them. And where I think there's good intentions there, I think it can be misleading, and in a way, on our part as atheists, I think it can be disingenuous and at worst manipulative.
Okay, so what if would it change? Would it would it solve the issue of specifically using the phrase Christian values? Would it solve it if I instead of saying Christian values, I said what you call Christian values? Would that clear it all up?
Maybe if you said what you call Christian values, what I call just humanitarian or egalitarian, depending on what you're talking about, you know. But I still think, like, when you're talking about Christian values, if you were to be the honest atheist, you would also remind these people that these values did not originate with Christianity. And as I think I've said in the past, a lot of these values that I'm sure every viewer watching this like upholds and believes in, we actually hold due to many fights against Christianity and against the church. Things like autonomy, things as base as liberty, but also things like free speech. You know, you have the First Amendment. Well,
and I mean, if we're getting into the political side of things, then if you're coming from
not really. I'm more so, I forget what a clause is called, but you know what I mean when I say First Amendment. You know where I'm going with that.
Yeah. Familiar with the First Amendment.
It's not so much about the politics. I mean, that's of course related politically, but it's more so the value of why we hold that stance that governments cannot do anything to acknowledge religious bodies or religious entities. I can't remember the exact wording, but it's the clause that people often confuse with church and state, which was more so mentioned in a Jefferson letter. But even in Jefferson's letter, he was referring to that clause, the exemption clause or establishment clause. Yes, the government shall not establish. Yes.
Yeah.
But when it comes to things like that, it's important to remember why that was in place, because people often just think about, keeping the church out of politics, but it was just as much about keeping politics out of the church. It was a fear of crossbreeding of corruption, and the people that were most afraid of this were the Christians.
Okay, and so I'm okay. Say more on that. I'm with you. And so, how does that implicate what we're talking about?
Well, when it comes to things like, I'm not sure what your opinion is on making Christianity the national religion, but what are your thoughts on that?
Hell no.
Okay, well, we agree on that. At least. I assumed we would. But yeah, I would feel inclined when talking to a Christian out of respect for them and out of wanting them to know exactly where I'm coming from, that I don't view those values as Christian, and that there may come a day, as much as maybe in this moment it may be better for us to break bread, extend grapevines. We all know that would be I don't think there would be much longevity to that, because eventually we would be reminded why what we consider humanitarian values are not always Christian values.
Right, but don't you think that like that is kind of a little bit further down the road of the discussion of opening up again, because my position is slightly more of a political one than a religious one. My goal is a lot more, at least for now, about moving the Overton window back to where it was, 10, 20 years ago. And I don't really care if people are, openly Christian and all that stuff. I think it's more detrimental to American culture for all this woke stuff. So I'm happy to work with Christians to get rid of that and hold hold Christianity to attack so to speak, later?
Well, I would rather just them, if we were to establish some kind of kinship and partnership to battle the woke left. I feel the honest thing would be for us all to acknowledge that that fight is coming. If we do that,
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I think any allyship that we have with any religious sect, being people who do not believe in their creeds, their assertions, their dogmas, and constantly have had to fight against them and know that eventually we will one day. I think the chances of us just eternally unifying on gender neutral bathrooms is not going to get us past the point when, say, they want to start burning witches again.
I mean, I agree, but thank you to Funk Master here. So we got to show Nick what a beast you're becoming, and we will definitely get there. And a treat for Morty. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I mean, I guess I don't disagree, but again, I feel like that is, we're way more in trouble of, having gender neutral bathrooms than the Crusades or something like that. I forget which example you used, but we're way more, we're way closer to having, this gender stuff be far more established in culture than we are from having religiously based violence. Wouldn't you agree?
No, I'm of a mind that a lot of what comes from the left that you're describing is religious.
Okay, but so you think, I just want to be sure that you're saying you think it's more likely that we're going to get religious violence?
No. What I'm saying is that those kinds of well, those a lot of things from the woke side of the left comes from the homage of, I would rather have questions I don't have answers to than answers, or I would rather have questions I cannot answer than have answers I cannot question.
Yeah,
I think that's Carl Sagan.
Yeah.
And this kind of behavior of, I feel this way about XYZ, gender, race, sexuality, and you're not allowed to question this because if you do, you're a bad person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all
that's religious dogma to its core.
I agree. What is that? I don't make the connection for me. Maybe I'm too stupid to see it.
Because you're saying, what are the chances that religious attacks are going to happen? But in a way, they are happening. They've just changed their coats.
Right.
And that implies to me that there's more so of a mindset.
Okay, but in a
that
very more
parallels to that kind of stuff that is deeply embedded in religion. And in our country, at least, we, up until recently, saw from the Christians.
Yeah, that's why I want Christianity to take its rightful place in mythology. That being said, again, I would, I think maybe it's just a point of agree to disagree, but I think the idea that I'm trying not to be facetious. I'm having trouble making the connection. Like, because if we're saying what is more imminent of a threat, not which is worse of a threat, I would agree that gender neutral bathrooms are not nearly as bad as the Crusades. I agree with that. But what we're talking about is what is a more imminent threat. And again, we're just using gender neutral bathrooms as a catch-all for the things in society that we, meaning people who agree with this position, not necessarily we, everybody in America, don't want. And so we're using the idea that men can be women. That is an idea that we don't want in society. We also don't want a national religion where everybody has to be the same thing and you can't question that. But one of those is more imminent than the other.
Well, let's use an even more prominent fear, and I'll use such one that I believe Christians often fear, as well as aspects of which you and I do. But let's say Islam. Let's say that fear comes true. Islam sweeps the nation, and the way Christianity was, say, any time before the 60s to 90s era, Islam comes to that prominence.
Okay.
Would you then call those values Islamic values?
No,
in
because they're
order
not.
to
They're not though. Like they don't appear in Islam. That's.
Oh, you've read the Quran.
I mean, not cover to cover, but yeah, I'm pretty familiar with the idea that throwing gays off of roofs is not compassion.
Neither is burning witches. See, what happened with Christianity and what I think can happen with Islam
Is the
is that
Reformation.
once a religion does win a religious war, and it takes the cake, for lack of a better word, eventually with that power comes a release of tension and control, because they have control. And then over time, you see society kind of adjust and kind of move past certain archaic and primal ideals. So in the scenario where Islam takes over, that would certainly eventually happen. Eventually, they would become more moderate, and they would start to do exactly what Christianity did, and they would start to lose certain things. They would start to not acknowledge certain aspects of the Bible or certain teachings of the Bible because they don't truly believe in it. And when it gets to that point, would you call them Islamic values to get Muslims on board if they relate those values as Muslim?
I mean, in that situation, yeah, why not? Why would I not want to open people's minds and have them less willing to kill other people just because I don't want to call a thing what they call it? So if we have a situation where a Muslim is saying, I'm going to kill everybody unless you accept Muslim values. And I say, well, I'm an atheist, but I actually believe in these values and those values. So I actually believe in Muslim values, and so does everybody here. So you don't have to kill us. And then they're like, oh, okay, cool. Obviously, I'm simplifying that and being a little bit tongue in cheek. But why would I not use whatever words there? I'm not the dogmatic one. I don't care what you call the values. That's the dogmatic part. And so if they need to be Christian values or Islamic values or any of those things, that's irrelevant to me. I don't care what you call them.
I think what you call these things matters to an extent.
I agree.
And
I'm just saying in the context, but I agree. I'm not saying that it doesn't matter at all. But I'm saying within the context of trying to convince people who are Christians that their values are available in people who are not Christians is a worthy discussion. And if using the phrase Christian values to talk about the values that me and the Christian happen to agree on helps that conversation, I don't find that to be manipulative or untrue.
Well, again, you're talking about when specifically talking to a Christian,
mm-hmm.
or in the other example, when explicitly talking to a Muslim. It seems from the example of Islam basically taking over and becoming the number one religion, that seems to be when the rule changes, when the dogma has power and can influence and potentially threaten. That seems to be when you label the values of that religion. And I just don't know how I feel about that. It feels disingenuous to me.
And I hear you, but so let's take what Nick is saying here. Nick said about 25 to 26% of non-religious individuals voted for Trump. It is time for Republicans to recognize that they have allies among atheists, as they may gain more support this way. This is the most important thing to me. To get Republicans, the Republican voters, the Republican politicians, and just the Republican apparatus to understand exactly this, that the reliance on Christianity specifically is not necessary. That you can celebrate Christianity all you want, but in order to have the values that the Republican Party wants to put into law and culture, that religion is not necessary. So with that goal, using phrases that I might not use with you are useful, because I'm not talking about values that are not in Christianity and just calling them Christian values to wiggle in. I'm talking about, again, those specific values that I believe in because of, again, I was, as Am kind of brought up before, I was brought up in the Christian church. This country is very heavily influenced by Christianity. And so I do believe in a lot of those things. A lot of them I don't, because they don't make sense, but the ones that I do also show up in Christianity.
Sure. But it still stands to reason that those values show up in countless religions, and we only call them Christian values because Christianity is the prominent religion where we're from. And I hear where you're coming from. I was raised Pentecostal. I've got deep seated South religious roots in me. But it seems like I don't have to applaud Christianity, in the Christians that I know at least. I don't need to label things under their religion or applaud their religion and pretend as if their religion came up with these values in order for them to see value in them. I usually need to use reason, because if you want a bad person to do a good thing, you use reason. But if you want a good person to do a bad thing,
you use dogma.
You use religion.
Yeah, I completely agree. But again, I think that maybe you are not taking into account the specific goal that I'm doing. Because again, I'm not disagreeing with any of these things, but focusing on those issues when I'm talking to a Republican person who is trying to make political changes in this country, and we're talking about what Nick said about how the Republican demographic is growing, and including people who are not religious. That, I think, is the most prevalent or most imminent thing, to get to find a place for people who have values that also show up in Christianity, being against values that seem to go against Christianity, whether or not I'm a part of it, and get the values that I want, regardless of where they come from and what they're called. I care about the values existing in society. So I think maybe a big difference, or a big sticking point here, is that we have very different political perspectives. Because it doesn't seem like you necessarily have a value, or you don't place value in the Republican Party accepting atheists.
No, that's not what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that people can't have the religion and worship and feel the way that they feel. But if you grace that by calling it Christian values, a big concern I would have would be other kinds of Christian values that will rear their ugly head under the use of that term. And I should have been focusing on that aspect of this a bit more.
Okay, so let's go down that.
If you grant that these are Christian values simply to get people and say, look, I am on your side. You have an audience with us. You have atheists on your side because you believe in compassion. I believe in compassion, and those Christian values, I'm right there with you, buddy. And then 100 years down the line, people decide to start going after astrology chicks and people that at some point you would consider like witchcraft. Now we have to find a new argument, because thou shalt not suffer a witch to live is a basically a tenet mentioned in the Bible. And if it gets to the point that those kinds of and I'm just using that as an extreme example, you can apply anything to it, not eating fish, whatever, like go crazy. But those come back, then how do we argue against them? We would then have to say, well, we're not talking about those Christian values.
I think that I don't think it would play out that way. I think that in you're framing it as if we talk to Christians and we say Christian values, and then boom, they're on our side. So now we don't have to say Christian values anymore. This is a gradual thing that you convince individual people at a time. And then, just by knowing somebody who is an atheist, again, from the Christian perspective, knowing somebody who is an atheist, who lives by Christian values, that just that is going to be enough to then have the ability to spread to other people. And that's really the overall goal. And as that is happening, then we also simultaneously shape society in other ways, specifically because we are not a Christian nation. Then the Bible is not a driver of what our political goals are necessarily, specifically when we have the two sides. And it's the reliance on Christianity within the Republican Party, which keeps the Christian values so prominent. If the abortion is a perfect example of this. That it usually is religious people say no abortion, and non-religious people are like, yeah, who cares? But when you can see that it's a little bit more nuanced than that, then by being called an atheist, you're not lumped into one of these boxes, which again is what I'm saying is not necessarily an issue for you on your side of the political aisle, but is a very big issue for people like me and Nick. So
I'm not concerned with people just seeing me as an atheist. That calls for just a deeper issue with their ability to look, because I have no identity or label to atheism. So when you use the term Christian values, I guess what I'm saying and I'm not saying like you say that and boom, they agree with us, because then you could just say, I believe in your Christian values, God's not real, and everything would be hunky-dory. But it may not happen instantaneously, but when you say it wouldn't play out that way. Are you saying that by granting validation to that dogmatic belief, that those darker beliefs and those deeper tenets wouldn't come back?
Well, it just depends on what people live out and what people care about. And so if people are caring about this particular issue, then it will persist. If people care about making sure that tradition and ritual are a part of American culture, then that will persist even if Christianity fades away. So this seems to be like the other side of throwing out the baby with the bathwater, and the Christians believe that, well, if you don't fully believe in everything, then you can't live the values. And you're kind of saying the same thing, that, well, if you live the values, then you're going to believe in the thing. What?
That's happened historically.
What do you mean?
That the example of if we allow a specific religion or mindset to creep in and take power, that the darker sides of that belief system will take root in our culture and possibly in our legislation. That's happened.
And in what ways? So let's go to some of
the
these
Crusades.
Well, but again, that's so far. We already discussed that. That's so far away from the worry of what can actually happen when we're talking about what is actually going to happen. But let's get to let's get some of these. So Am said, I think it's misleading or less convincing that two people who grew up with religion advertise morality can be had without it. Isn't that where yours derived from? So what convinced you? Just say that. Yeah, I think that is precisely why I'm okay with using the fact that they are Christian values. As Am says, we grew up in the church. Most people in this country grew up with some understanding of the church and what are specifically Christian values. And so rejecting the ones rejecting the specific values that I don't agree with, like slavery and the ones throwing gay people off the roofs and burning witches, we don't do those things. But like, I think it's again very easy to see that the issues with whatever woke issue you want to pick, that is much more of a prevalent issue than witches being burned.
Well, I would say Christianity is not where I derived my best values and guidance of morality. I would actually say my values and morality improved when I left the church. But this is a premise you see all the time that, we get morality from Christianity. We don't. That isn't true. That's historically not true. Christianity isn't even the oldest religion, and there were good people before it existed. So again, it's this kind of ownership that Christianity holds to morality, and Christianity only holds that ownership of morality in this country because it is the religion that we embrace. If it were another religion, we would call it that kind of moral values. We would call it that belief sets. If this happened to be an Islamic nation, but we still developed and advanced the way that we have,
we wouldn't. That's the point. If we were a religious nation, we wouldn't develop what we have. And Am also says, how do you know that you've only lived your life? You don't have a counterfactual to say that, if I never grew up in Christianity, I would have lived this way. You can't say that.
Well, neither can anyone here.
Okay, but nobody is.
Well, that's a moot point.
How is it a moot? How is it a moot point? You're the one saying that we don't need Christianity because hold on. You're the one saying we don't need Christianity at all because without it, I still would have had the same morality. How do you know that?
How do you know we wouldn't?
I'm not making that claim. You're the one making the claim. I don't know that. I'm not claiming to know that. You're the one claiming to know a thing. You're claiming to know that if you didn't have religion, or if you didn't have Christianity, that you specifically would be able to have the same morality that you have now. How do you know that the morality that you have now, that the Christianity wasn't a prerequisite, and that the way that you understand things now is only because you had that Christian upbringing?
Because I'm speaking for myself and I'm me.
That doesn't answer the question. Because so again, the question is, how do you know that your moral structure that you have now isn't dependent on being a Christian first?
Because like I already stated, there have been plenty of good people who didn't throughout history who didn't come from Christian nations.
They're not you. So maybe they did.
You're asking me how I know for sure about my own moral compass. I'm agnostic towards my own existence and reality.
You presented a counterfactual. Now I'm asking you how you know that factual is correct.
Because I am speaking for myself. I'm not saying it's objectively. I'm not saying it's objectively correct. It's my experience.
Okay, so you can tell me. So you can tell me how your life would be if you spent the first 20 years of your life without any hair. You could tell me how your life would be different or the same as to how you live right now.
The statement that I made.
I know the statement you made. The question that I asked you: if you had no hair for the first 20 years of your life, could you say that your life would be exactly the same as it is now, or would you not be able to make the determination because you didn't have no hair from that time?
I'm answering. So when I say that my personal values, my moral guidance improved when I walked away from the church, when I lost the religion, um, I am saying that based on people's interactions with me, the experience that I've had in just making things better, not really. It's a lot of personal things, but
Okay. So
what
would
I'm
you?
describing, if the response to that is, how do you know? I don't. I can't really answer that. But
Well, right, because you don't
let's.
know. So again, then that you can't make claims of things that you don't know.
Okay. Well, we've always been a predominantly Christian, like as far as religion held by individual people, we've always predominantly been Christian. So how would people know that it wouldn't improve without Christianity?
We don't. That's why I'm doing exactly what I'm doing. That is precisely my goal, is to see if it is possible that we could be better without Christianity ever being part of the equation. We don't know that. It might very well be that Christianity is the absolute best that we could do. I'm not, just stick with me. I'm testing that. A lot of people believe that, and I am testing that that claim that Christianity is the best that we can do. I don't think that it is the best that we can do, but I can't prove that yet. So I have to go through and do the work, and then I can say, here's how I know that Christianity is not the best.
Again, I would say good luck.
I mean, support the channel. Hey, what are we doing? But so okay. This is so Anne said, what if you grew up a Satanist? What if you grew up as missionaries with no structure or consistency? How? But yeah, okay. It's kind of the. All right, let's move on. That's the. I think we kind of agreed on that one. So before, you were talking about how saying Christian values and admitting that they are Christian or not admitting, but giving credence to the fact that they are Christian values kind of gives Christianity a leg up, and that it could that could lead to what Dan is talking about, other values rearing their ugly head. Can you expand on that?
Yes. At everyone's own risk, I'll explain what I mean. Christianity, just speaking point blank of my own opinion, Christianity is a belief that you were created in sin and in flaw, and then you are commanded to be better. It is the belief that there will be a final day of judgment where some of us are allowed to party in paradise with the Lord, and the rest of us can go to hell. None of us have to ask the question of people finding faith and the status of faith, giving people kind of an entitlement to moral grandstanding. We have anyone who's gone to church has known those people. Some of us have them as family. But when you come down to ideas like thou shalt not kill unless the Lord commands you to kill his enemy, a Lord that does not speak to us, so we have to leave the Lord's will up to the interpretation of men. What could possibly go wrong? But we have countless historical examples of what can go wrong, what has gone wrong, the number of people killed, the number of wars waged, the genocides committed, and people killed for everything from their sexuality, their cultural choices, even down to believing that they're a witch.
Yeah,
those are the ugly values I
agree with all of that, but then the question then moves to, okay, how do you fix that? How do you solve that if you're not just dictating another dogma or structure onto someone?
Reason.
Okay, and how do you do that?
You reason to people. You tell them we don't. We
don't
don't.
Dogmatic. They're by definition not willing to listen to reason because of the dogma. That's what dogma is.
Well, the dogma is simply that there are certain tenets of their belief that they are not expected to question and that they must accept on the face of it. And all it takes is
Right.
someone telling you you do not have to do that.
But they won't believe you because they already believe in what they believe in. That's the point.
So how would you do it?
By doing what I'm doing and showing them that even if I have to compromise and that I don't necessarily think that the values that I live by originated with Christianity, if they do, then okay, I don't fucking care where you think these values came from. I will use phrases like Christian values to get into the conversation of what actually matters instead of the title of the values. And look what we got. We're almost there. We're all on the road to 5K. Not quite, but we're almost 5,000 people are here. Most of them Christian, saying, yes, I agree with what you say. I like that you're saying it. I would like you to say more of it. That's how you convince people.
I mean, if you're having to package your beliefs to be accepted, that means some part of you knows that your beliefs would not be accepted.
I'm very aware that my beliefs will not be expected. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because of the fact that I know my beliefs, or my positions rather, are better and they are not going to be accepted. So I have to convince people. They think the wrong thing. I think the right thing. I already have the right answer. It's just a matter of convincing them that I'm right.
Would you say then that the answer is convincing Christians that secular values are Christian values?
No, I would say that it's more about convincing Christians that Christian value, what they call Christian values, are not exclusive to Christianity.
How would you do that? By calling them Christian values?
Because just because I said they were Christian values a year ago doesn't mean I can't then, now that they're listening, have a deeper conversation about, well, actually, you have this value from the Bible, but it actually shows up in the in this philosophy or that religion or that, and that's what I meant before when you're acting like it's an on-off switch, where I call them Christian values, and or maybe not an on-off switch, but like a stuck in it's stuck in that forever. I can call something a Christian value.
I'm not saying forever. What I specifically said was that you would have a fight on your hands later.
You're gonna what later?
So you would have a fight on your hands later.
Yeah.
That was specifically what I said. That if you call them Christian values and then you get them to, well, not even get them to accept those values, because it's determined by referring to those Christian values that they would relate to, that they already agree with them. So if you call them Christian values in that moment, then down the line, when you start explaining to them, okay, let's talk about why I really don't think it's a good idea to say the Lord's Prayer at school, or have the 10 Commandments up in school. Now you have to ditch the label of Christian values anyway, so why use them in the first place?
One, no, you don't. And two, who do you think is going to be better at convincing somebody who is a Christian who wants the 10 Commandments up in their school? Who's going to be better at convincing them that that's not appropriate? Somebody who is willing to talk to them about their ideas and accept that they believe certain things that you don't, or somebody who is just not willing to accept anything that they say?
I'm not saying I'm not willing to accept anything that they say.
I wasn't talking about you. Whoopsies! The Freudian slip. I never said you. I just said someone. So I'm saying. So again, if we're making the comparison. If we're making the comparison of somebody who is willing to talk about Christian values and say that the wokeness is bad and we need to fix our culture and all those kinds of things, but is an atheist and doesn't believe in God, or just another atheist, which one of those do you think is going to be, on average, better at being able to convince a Christian of something that is or convince a Christian that having the 10 Commandments up in school is not appropriate?
What do you mean by an atheist that doesn't believe in God versus just another atheist? Was that a Freudian slip?
No, I didn't say I said doesn't believe in God, but that's only half the sentence. I don't believe in an atheist who doesn't believe in God, but talks about these Christian values, lives these values, all these things, as opposed to an atheist who just doesn't believe in God and doesn't live by the values.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
All right, let's do a poll. Let's do a poll. I think most people here are Christians, right? Who would you be more willing to listen to? We'll say a militant. Let's make it extreme. Again, we're not talking about either of us. A militant atheist or atheist who likes Christian values. Simple as that.
It's like the easiest poll in the world.
Well, exactly. Well, then why can't you answer that? That's the question I asked you.
Of just who would be like again. Of course, people are willing to have the conversation. More willing to have the conversation with someone. More willing to have the conversation. I don't see how that. No. That's not the point. I don't see how that means that we must use that rhetoric and uphold and basically appropriate those banners for people to see things from our point of view. What you're describing sounds like wolf in sheep's clothing. Wouldn't you rather convince them that we agree with them?
I'm not. I'm a sheep in sheep's clothing. It's just that I'm a black sheep and they're a white sheep, and they don't think that I'm part of their club because I'm a black sheep, when really the club is all sheep. That is a perfect example. If I was a wolf in sheep's clothing, then that would be very bad. But I'm not. I am a sheep. I'm a black sheep in white sheep's clothing to get into the sheep club. Brilliant example. Love that. I mean, can you does that make sense? And do you accept that? What do you think of that?
I'm thinking.
I'm gonna take a piss right quick. We are here. We'll put on some vibes. Yeah, I'm right here. I can hear you. Take your time. But I am definitely going to use that. I really appreciate that you brought that up, because it does. I definitely could see how you would think that I'm acting as a wolf in sheep's clothing. But it's so very different, because I'm not pretending to have those values. I'm not pretending to have those values. I actually have those values. I actually belong in that club. It's just that they don't believe I'm part of their sheep club, because all the people in the club are white sheep. And so right now I'm just putting on white clothing to get in and let them know that yes, I am actually a sheep. But guess what? I'm a black one. Or in this case, I am actually a conservative, or I don't like that, but I am actually the political position that I think I am. It's just that I don't look exactly the same way because I'm not Christian.
Well, is the music still going? Are we? Oh, there we go.
I mean, we can keep it on if you like, but either way.
Nah. I don't know. There's still there's just an aspect of it I can't shake that seems dishonest. It's like you said, you're the black sheep convincing them you're one of them. At that point, they're not accepting you. They're accepting what they think you are. You not want them to accept you.
Yeah, but they're wrong about the fact. They're wrong about the fact that they don't like black sheep. They just don't know it. They think they don't like black sheep. They actually don't give a shit. They just think that's part of their dogma, that only white sheep or only white sheep are sheep. If it's black, it's not a sheep. They're just wrong. And so by lying and presenting myself as a white sheep, all I'm doing is getting my foot in the door to show them, hey guys, you were actually wrong, because look, here I am, a sheep who happens to be black. And then they're like, oh, okay, we were wrong. I guess sheep can be any color. That's what I'm doing to Christians.
I guess I'm the type of person that would just rather walk in and say, hey guys, I think you're wrong.
And I mean, okay, good luck with that. Like that as Ann was bringing up before, like I tried that. I tried that for a good long time. But you realize that doesn't do anything. And so you can be right, or you can convince people to behave better and have a better society. And I feel like it's an arrogant position to say, no, I'm not going to lower myself to talk about Christian values because the atheists are the right ones. And it's like, if it was the case that atheists were, super moral, non-hedonist people, way more often than not, which, I mean, let me take that back. If they weren't, so the loudest ones, that's better. That's what I mean. So if the loudest ones weren't the ones that, were hedonistic, then that would be one thing. But there's already an idea, of what an atheist is. And so in order to change that, yeah, maybe I have to kind of wiggle my way in and not be completely myself from day one fully. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a little bit of subterfuge if it saves the goddamn country.
I mean, that's a big, I mean, you're assuming it would work.
I'm hoping it will. If it doesn't, then, it doesn't. But I'm sure as shit not going to stop trying until I know it won't work. So I'm as agnostic about God as I am about this working, but I am as committed to finding the truth about God as I am about finding the truth about the ability for a secular moral structure. I've done neither of those things, and I don't know if either of those are possible. But again, I will not stop until I know that they're not possible.
But in this moment, you are still, if you take off the white sheep's clothing, what you are still fighting for is, would you say, is that secular value, and when it inevitably comes down to it, because it will come down to it, fighting against the Christian values.
Yeah. Well, no.
Well,
not against the Christian, not against the Christian values, against the Christian dogma, against
right there.
Yeah, I know. Well, and I mean, this is where this is getting into the weeds, because it's not like, again, it's not everything about Christianity is bad. The values that exist within Christianity, especially if we're talking about the way that Christians, people who call themselves Christians, the way that they live, the way that they think they should live, the way that they want to live, the way that they aspire to live, those types of values. I don't know many Christians who are aspiring to burn a witch. I don't know many Christians who are aspiring to own slaves. So if I did, then I would approach this very differently. But the fact is, that's not what I see. The biggest and again most imminent threat to my way of life seems to be the far left wing of the political class. Good one. I don't know if you're looking at the screen. Bunkmaster General said more like a brownish sheep.
But again, I mean, I can never shake the historical context of, but Christianity isn't doing stuff like that now. Like, of course they're not. They don't have to. They did it really good back in the day. And again, we're talking about religious war out of the fear that those cultures and those sensibilities, those belief systems, they identify them as being under threat. It's kind of like I said the other day, right now, Christianity is peaceful because it's the prominent religion. And other religions, predominantly, let's say, Islam, when that conversation comes up, if someone dares make the conversation of who's the superior, It seems to be the one that is still racing for that first place that tends to be the most radical. That seems to be the case with Islam in the last however long it's been. So who's to say that when Christianity is replaced that they won't take on that guise? If they've been there before, why would it be so hard to believe they could get there again?
Because we've had centuries of progress in how Christians don't, again, Christians don't want to burn people alive. Christians don't want to stone women for slavery, for adultery. They don't want to do that. And so theoretically, I guess it's not impossible that people would want to do that. But the more contemporary, even global values, really, I think are such that and again, as we both touch on the fact that people who call themselves Christians don't really follow the Bible that much. That's the point. We want to water it down so much that we just have all we have is the good stuff. Be nice to others, and then that's left of Christianity.
Well, I don't know.
I'm not sure if that was did that make sense? I'm not sure if that was a fully baked thought.
I mean, I'm half baked, so you're good.
Just really quick, there's the two concepts of one, we convince people that the values that they believe are Christian values can exist outside of Christianity, and two, that they don't need to be a Christian in order to have a world that they would want to see that from their perspective is kosher, pun intended, is kosher and is like, okay, this is I'm accepting this as a Christian. We are living by how God would want it. And
like telling them you don't have to like telling them you don't have to call them Christian values.
Huh?
Like telling them these values that you call Christian values, they are not necessarily exclusive to Christianity, and you can hold these values while not being a Christian.
Yeah.
When exactly. You then be telling them that they are not actually Christian values.
Right. That's how we convince them that they're not actually uniquely Christian values. That just because they show up in Christianity doesn't mean that there's anything uniquely Christian about them. But if that's the first conversation you're having with somebody, then you're probably not going to get that far.
Well, I'm not going to open with your God is stupid, but
open on.
But I see what you're saying. I just feel I feel the most important. The thing that stands out to me the most is the choice of words. What you consider Christian values, and I understand why you word it that way. And I don't think there's anything wrong with wording it that way. I simply think that is the reveal that you don't truly believe they are Christian values, and your end goal is for them to stop using the term Christian values.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
it's kind of like it's like the Uno reverse. It's like, gotcha, bitch.
Exactly. You don't think they should use the word Christian values.
So I open up with Christian values, and then they just become the values. Hey, shout out to Cody Brooks, the God Daddy of the channel. Welcome, sir. He said, I grew up in a Christian church. I was banned from learning outside information. I judge everyone based on their presentation of values. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. There you go. And so the idea here is just like what Cody is saying, is that if we can get people to be a little bit less, are you a Christian or you're not a Christian? And a little bit more like, okay, what is it that you actually believe in? That's a better conversation to have.
Well, yeah, I'm glad we came to the conclusion that the end goal is for it not to be called Christian values.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that the end goal is for Christianity to, again, be, mythos and the fact that, people are into astrology and people are into witchcraft and all that kind of stuff. But we don't, it's not a relevant part of society. Shout out to Day Video. Welcome to the party. And we also got our boy Guam Tag. Look at that. All right, let's make this pretty.
What up?
Can you hear
What's
me?
going on? So let's go to Day Video. Yes, we can hear you. How are you doing? And what would you like to add to this conversation?
I think it would do a lot better for you to get them to accept you than accepting them, because you keep going back to threatening examples of the Crusades or farther examples, when if you
that was him, that was not me.
I understand, but there's a more realistic example, because if you start, giving them the justification to use Christian values, then they'll start treating you as them. They'll start acting like, oh, he's just basically a Christian, because you're giving them everything that they need to be one of them.
Right.
And you're not convincing them that you are an atheist and that you are what you are, but you're then gonna have to try and do that later, which will be much more difficult, and they won't accept you because they're like, oh, you're changing.
This is the argument
when you're like, no, I haven't been changing.
This is the argument that he made before. Why would it be harder? Again, we did the poll. of who would be more willing to listen to. So why are you saying it would be harder if I make inroads? It would be harder, according to the Christians in the chat.
The way to make inroads.
Hold on. We gotta be Discord. We could be a little bit more, whatever. But you gotta let me run the show here. So the specific point is that making inroads will make it easier to convince these people of what I think. Specifically, not having the inroads is what prevents me from being able to talk to them. Why are you guys both saying that that making those inroads will make it more difficult?
Because what I'm saying is that the way I would make an inroad isn't a militant atheist way. The way I would do it is to be who I am, say I'm an atheist, and I'm the stereotype you think an atheist is. And if I was you, I wouldn't necessarily do this because I don't agree with their values necessarily, right? But if I did, then what I would do is be like, I'm an atheist and I agree with that value, and I agree with that one and that one, that one, yet I'm an atheist. And they would say, oh, I know an atheist and he's actually a good guy. He actually believes in these Christian values. He's not a Satanist. Atheists are cool, and they will accept you. You don't have to accept them, because if you accept them, you justify them and taking that narrative and using it on things like slavery, or using it on things that you don't like banning pornography in Kentucky.
And I would just add, if in both scenarios, when it comes to that change and when it comes to convincing people of those final values, like their final boss, for lack of a better word, in our realm, their final boss is reason. When you get to that point with them, you're having to argue against God. No matter how many grapevines
you're going in.
How does that change anything? You keep saying that. How does that change by me saying no? I'm an atheist and I hate Christianity, and
because you aren't getting them to accept atheists. You're getting.
It's not saying you
how does that make it easier? The question is, how does that make it easier? You're saying what I'm doing is making it more difficult. And if I were to just go full bore, that it would be easier. How is what I'm doing making it more difficult? I agree that at some point you eventually have to come up against the reasonality of God, or whatever way you want to put it. The final ball. I'm with you there. That is going to happen either way. So I can, again, either make the inroads or not make the inroads.
But when you make the inroads, they're going to think of you as one of them.
I don't care.
Well,
I don't care. And again, the other thing you said is, but then they think you accept them. Guess what, bro? I do accept them. I don't need Christians to change anything about their lives.
But they accept you as them. They don't accept you as an atheist.
Except the fact that I'm an atheist. That is the only thing, and that I agree with.
But they don't think of you as one.
But what does that really matter, though? Like, what exactly is the harm in a Christian actually thinking that an atheist is on their side?
It's not about them thinking that they're on their side. That would be a good thing. But them thinking that you are basically a Christian.
So what is the harm there,
he
though?
thinks he's an atheist, but he believes in all these Christian values. He's basically, exactly. You're not Christian. So when it comes time for you to be like, actually, I'm an atheist, they're not going to accept you. They're going to call it.
Put a one in the chat if you don't. Put a one in the chat if you believe that I don't actually that I'm not actually an atheist.
So, but
I mean, we know what the general audience is going to agree with. It matters. It matters because what people believe influence legislation and culture. It does matter.
Right. It's the conversation that they then have with other people. Like I said, what you're doing is they're going to go to other people and they're going to say, "Oh, I know this atheist who's basically a Christian." When my method is, "Oh, I know this." I know this atheist who's actually really cool and actually believes in these things, and atheists aren't bad, and they will be more open to talking to other atheists, and those atheists will learn, oh, hey, Christians aren't that bad, and blah, blah, blah. That's the exchange that makes so much more sense.
So let me get this right. Are you saying that it's better
the minority?
I kind of feel like that is exactly what I'm doing. But
it's better to be like a militant atheist going to a Christian than it is to be someone who is actually open to it.
Hey, whoa. No. One at a time. Go ahead.
Is it okay to be a militant atheist?
Nope. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to make sure that I'm getting this right. Is it you're saying that it's better to have a militant atheist or somebody who is so just in the realm of atheism to go to a Christian and have a conversation with them than somebody who is an atheist who would have a respect for Christian values and actually like understands how that benefits him? That would be a better conversation. I'm trying to figure out which one you think is better.
It wouldn't. You're assuming we would be on the side of an atheism that is militant, and that's not what we're saying. And it's also kind of an unfair trap to conflate it to militant. Like no one's going to agree with a militant atheist, just like no one's going to agree with a militant Christian.
Fair. So that's not what you're saying. So what is it that you are saying? That's what we're both. I think we're both confused about. So maybe if you could just top to bottom, this is the way it should be.
I think an allyship built on lies is built on a very shaky foundation.
Agreed. Which lies have I told?
That you believe the values are Christian. In the scenario
I do believe
that you are talking to a Christian.
I do believe in those values.
But
you don't believe they're Christian.
Isn't an allyship also built off of being able
then
to
why would you
hold on,
each other? I'm sorry, let me finish. If you do believe they are Christian, why would your goal eventually
Christian? They're not uniquely Christian.
No, why would your goal eventually be to get them to stop calling them Christian values?
Because of all of the other Christian stuff that I don't agree with.
Exactly. If you give them what they need to justify you being Christian, you are validating them, and they can use the justification that you're giving them to other atheists to then do things that you don't want them to do.
So nothing in Christianity has any validation. Just throw the entire thing in the garbage.
No. But
that's not what we're saying.
Why would I not validate the parts that should be validated?
You are trying to get atheists to accept them. You should be getting them to accept atheists. This is the difference we're talking about.
I think that's a difference without a distinction. I think any way to get people to I don't think it's an either or. I think that I don't think anybody here is confused that I do not believe that God exists. I don't think anybody here is confused. So I don't think when anybody talks about the Indian Jesus, they're confused as to whether or not he is an atheist.
We're not talking about people here. They're your audience. We understand that.
Right. So who the fuck else are we talking about then? I'm not talking to people who I'm not talking to.
Christians.
So I can't control what Christians think if I'm not talking to them. I can only control. I mean, even if I'm talking to them.
You've never been in a cab ride and talked to the cab driver?
No, I don't like talking to cab drivers.
Okay, well, that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Huh?
And? So no, I don't do that. I have a YouTube show. If you
Okay.
want to spend your time convincing people of what
But
you
that's
think
what
by
we're
going
talking
through
about.
cabs and doing that, I implore you, I will support that. But that's not what I do. What I do is this, and it seems to be working pretty goddamn well.
I mean,
Is it not? Do we not have an overwhelming majority of Christians listening to an atheist talk about how Christian values are good, and then eventually learning that maybe the fact that an atheist is saying this, maybe that
be
means
honest,
maybe I
though.
am now convinced that the atheist isn't this hedonistic asshole that I thought.
Do you think they're listening to you because of your opinions on Christianity or because of your opinions on Trump?
Why does that matter? Why does that matter?
What are you convincing them of?
What?
That despite the fact that I
mean,
don't believe in
like-
their God, that I still share values with them. And that is a possible thing.
But
that's
they
the
know
goal.
you're an
That's it.
atheist, so
Do
you're
wait,
essentially.
but
what you're doing to your audience is what.
No. See, this is what you guys do. You throw a question like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you," and then I have a perfect answer for your question, and then just move on as if I didn't just give you a perfect answer to the question that you thought was a gotcha. Can we just acknowledge that you thought that you had something there and you didn't?
No.
Had something where? What are you referring to?
You just thought you had a gotcha question, and then I answered your
No, I
question,
didn't.
and then you just move the fuck on as if I didn't answer the question.
Nobody asked you gotcha.
Okay, then what was the point of the question that you just asked?
Which
I don't even remember the question.
What are you trying to convince them of?
I mean, it's not about trying to convince. It's about maintaining. To me, it's about maintaining an honest landscape, an honest intellectual landscape. I think before all other things, and it's the difference is you will arrive. I feel like you'll arrive at the conversation, and they find out you're an atheist once you're in the party and you're already, like you said, in with the other sheep. I would rather be the kind of atheist that they know is coming.
Then
I feel like that's more honest.
Nobody's telling you not to be that atheist. Did I ever say don't be that atheist? Go fucking be that atheist.
Right, but and also hasn't
Well, I'm
history
not
shown over and over that
I'm not saying that you're
people
saying I can't.
Bro,
I can't be.
Hold on. No. If I have to treat you like children, I will. Guamtech was speaking, and that means that you don't speak. Go ahead, Guam.
Isn't that just weird though? Because like historically, it's shown that people who come to the table and are constantly throwing their differences down right in front of each other all the time leads to the most conflict. And allyship should be built off of your common ground, so that way you can have somewhere to start and then work out the fucking differences as you go. I don't understand why being able to like go into a conversation and yeah, you're being honest. Oh, great. Good for you. You're being honest, but it's not getting anything done.
Okay,
Getting
can I respond?
that common ground is you go ahead, Josh.
Okay. I would love to end these conversations on why can't we all just get along and accept each other. Unfortunately, that is not how the real world works. Unfortunately, people with different belief systems do want to control legislation. They do want to control lives. They do want to make changes in personal lives.
Yes.
So I think throwing up your hands and saying, well, it doesn't really matter. Who really cares? It matters when most of the fucking wars that are started start because of these disagreements.
Who was saying nobody cares?
That's actually what I was just saying. I was saying that we need to be able to start somewhere with common ground so that we don't just start another fucking war.
Yeah, it seems like
We
you
have
guys
to-
are the ones who are saying we should just throw our hands up and they either accept that
No.
we're atheists and this is the way it is or nothing. So
How am I saying we throw our hands up when I say I'm the atheist they see? Oh, God. How am I throwing my hands up when I say I'm the atheist that you see coming? How is that me throwing my hands up and saying, who cares?
Because you're basically admitting you don't care if anything gets done with it. You just care that you're honest about being an atheist.
No, we are
No,
getting things done with it.
you're just saying I said that and pretending like I said that.
Okay,
I didn't say that.
What you're saying.
Then
What the
then
fuck?
Preston, what is it?
What?
Because seriously, if you go to the problem just being honest about the fact that you're an atheist and that's all that matters to you, then why would anybody want to
Again,
listen?
I'm not saying that's all that matters to me. You are saying that's all that matters to me.
You keep saying that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. So then, what are you saying? Because every time we try to read, every time we try to answer what you're saying, you switch it and move. So maybe we're retarded. Maybe we are the two dumbest people ever to
I
live.
am probably
Please
retarded.
treat us like we are 5 years old.
I know I am.
And
Okay.
explain
When I say, oh Jesus, when I say it is better for me to be honest, I feel that's me. I would rather greet that table with who I really am. If you want to say that means I'm a militant atheist and that I want to throw my hands up and say I don't care, I've got no clue how you got there, but go for it. I don't care. I'm still going to be who I am.
You are still coming to them with common ground, but you're going to them as who you are, and you're presenting them with the same common ground that you would, as you're saying.
Yes, the common ground is there.
I feel like I'm doing that. Yeah. That is what I feel like I'm doing. So maybe it's the fact that maybe you think I am more like you than I am, and so when I behave the way that I do, you think that I'm acting like a Christian. Maybe I'm just more of a Christian-like person than you guys are. Is that possible?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe
that's not going to get them to accept atheism. That's our issue.
Maybe that's why you use the wolf in sheep's clothing thing.
No, it's not going to get them to accept atheism. That's our issue.
Eventually, they will know.
Atheism. That's again. I don't need them to accept atheism. I don't.
But they do because we grew up in the 2000s.
I don't need them to accept atheism. I need them to accept atheists. That is a huge fucking difference. That is a huge.
That's what we mean. Yes, that's what we mean.
That's what we mean. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
that's what we mean.
Okay, great. Then we all agree. Whatever is going to
I don't think so.
Whatever is going to get people to accept atheists is a good thing.
Yes, but what you are doing isn't going to get them to accept atheists.
Okay, and I mean
it's going to get atheists to accept them, and then they will still have that political power.
I feel like that is a
things that you don't want them to have political power in.
I feel like I don't, number one, I don't think atheists accepting Christians is mutually exclusive from Christians accepting atheists.
Okay.
Number two,
let's put it this way.
I don't think it's mutually exclusive for atheists to accept Christians and Christians to accept atheists. So both of those can happen at the same time. Also, the fact of the matter is that while that is happening simultaneously, not everybody has to do it the same way. And so again, I am not saying that you have to be any type of person that you are not being. And I am saying that I am being the person that I am. So if you think that I'm being something that I'm not, then clearly what you think of me is not really what is me. Because what you see is me acting or me behaving or saying things that are not in line with anything else. And everything I said is directly in line with everything I do. I mean, we're not perfect, but I try.
Okay. So
I mean,
what I thought we were arguing was that there are Christian values we disagree with, correct? And our issue, like we could put it to Muslims, right? But our issue is those Christian values that we disagree with have political power. If you get atheists to accept them, you are not taking away that political power. You are not taking away the fact that we can then start turning them against those Christian values we disagree with.
I disagree. I just disagree.
Well, I'm sorry, I lost my.
It will take much more work for you to then say, "Hey, by the way, those Christian values I disagree with are bad because this, and this, and this." But they're treating you like a Christian. Now you have to then convince them. It's so much more work. You have to convince them what you are because you didn't come into them with it. Okay. If you get them to accept atheists, then you get them to accept the atheist values that you agree with.
What is an atheist value?
Secular value, humanitarian value. We went through
humanitarianism, secular values.
It's just but things that are better for people in junction to worse.
Fair. So, but I already believe that I believe they already accept those humanitarian values. They just call them Christian values. So if I can get in the conversation with them and have them realize that they actually do believe in secular humanitarian values just wrapped up in Christianity, then it is much easier to get them to shed the Christianity part, because then they can realize, oh, these values can be separated from the dogma.
But the end goal is eventually, just to reiterate, the end goal would be for them to let go of the term Christian values and just accept them as humanitarian values, correct?
Yeah.
I win the debate. Thank you, everybody. It's an honor to be here.
Thank God. Thank God.
It's been a great time.
The ending solution.
Sorry, I don't know who. Somebody's mic is freaking out. We good? Okay, sorry. David,
Hello.
yeah, sorry. I don't know. Some sound came through. I don't know.
Is someone driving?
The where we can agree and end this realistically.
Yeah, who is that? Is someone driving?
I don't know.
Okay, good.
We've got a ghost driver in here.
But our methods will work on different people. Your way would work on some people, and our way would work on others. And realistically, we just have to do it our ways to convince as many people as possible.
Yeah, I
We can break bread on that.
There we go. There we go. All right. It is Guantag. Guantag. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we can't hear you at all. And it's like,
wow.
Try to drop out and come back in.
Dude, the new Opeth album sounds tight.
And yeah, so this is exactly the point here. I'll put it in the chat again if he needs it. Behave is saying I can't accept atheism. I accept the person, but not atheism. Same.
I don't hate the sinner. I hate the sin.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Exactly. So
I don't hate the sinner. I hate the sin. Guess what?
So
the sin is the
so
sinner.
again, this is the level. This is the level.
I hate the war.
I'm not convinced of atheism. That's not a thing. And so, like, atheism is not a claim. It is a rejection of a claim. You're saying
atheist just means. Sorry.
Oh my God.
Atheism. This is a common misconception I get people, and if any good can come from this conversation, and I think good has come from it, but I think the most important thing I can leave the audience with: atheism is not the declaration that there is no God. Atheism is the statement that there is no reason for me to believe in one. Bingo. I am not saying there is no God, and if you believe in God, that's not atheism. There is no atheist ideology. There is no atheist infrastructure. There is no atheist foundation. That doesn't exist. Atheism is simply, do you believe in God? No. That's it.
That being said, there are definitely atheists who are assholes, which is why we have this. We have to fight this stigma or whatever. But again, that I think maybe in our own different ways, we are working on. Again with Thomas Sheedy, who was supposed to be here today. He is very much, I think, on your guys' side of the specific wording. I think I had mentioned before about. When I was talking to him at, I think it was just dialogue. I don't know, one of these things. And I was talking about how Richard Dawkins, one of the new atheist type guys, he's an old buck. But
I mean,
well, he goes by he calls himself a cultural Christian, and that I was making the joke. Well, okay, I mean that's kind of a way to essentially do the same thing that I'm doing. I'm just going to start.
Yeah, we all are.
I'm going to start calling myself a secular Christian. So, well, technically, I'm a Christian. I'm part of the club, and that was a joke. And he did not like that. He did not like that.
I'm a spiritual atheist.
Damn.
But I wouldn't say. I wouldn't. I mean, I don't know what new atheism. I never got that. Never understood that. It has something to do with Sam Harris. I really like his books. I really like his work. But I will say it was funny to say, it was funny in preparation for this and refreshing myself. I was diving through old Christopher Hitchens videos, And somebody asked him, "Why are you on this panel instead of a more moderate atheist?" And he responded, "Like who? Richard Dawkins."
I guess we will.
Which
All right. Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, the most militant of all atheists. But all right. So let's close this down and head to the after party. Oh, there we go. My beautiful face. Let's go to Dave Video. Any last words for the people?
Yes, just 3.
Thank you very, very much, sir. All right. And our boy, Cybercore, as he is now known. Thank you so very much for coming up and sparking this conversation. And as Sarah Marie was asking before, you know, I'm you guys could see how active I am in the Discord community. So definitely, if you would like to have a discussion about something, I can't promise just because you ask that we are going to dedicate a whole stream to it. But you know, we definitely can make something happen. So let me know. Mr. Cybercore, any last words for the people? Anything to shout out? Anything at all? The floor, sir, is yours.
I think my biggest point that I made was, again, atheism is not the declaration that there is no God. It is simply not even the rejection, but the postponal hesitation to acknowledge that there is one, or that there is a reason to believe in one. I would never tell people what they can and cannot believe, and anybody that would want to invite me to church, I would gladly go have a good time. I know all the hymns. And thanks for having me. It's been an experience. Got a little heated there for a second, but that's what the people are here for, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming through, and hopefully I will. Oh, you just got home from work, so I might not see you in the after party. But either way, very much appreciated, and you have a good one.
You as well.
Thank you, sir. All right, guys, we done did it. Oh, I was like, I when I said in the private chat, like, all right, guys, we're gonna close it down. I thought Glomtech was like, that means I need to leave, but you know, hey. You got anything to say? Yeah, you got the floor. But King says, great job. Thank you. Behave says, Jesus has the last say. Jesus will say who is his and who is not. I could be a dick about it, but I won't, and will say agree to disagree. But very glad that you were here, and yeah, so glad to catch such a good stream tonight. Thank you, thank all of you guys. I really do appreciate the discussion. And you know, I get a little scared, you know, coming into this and talking about religion. You know, being an atheist and with you guys being believers, but I think it was a little bit easier to be kind of on your guys' side. And so again, I want to thank both Dave Video and Cybercore for coming into enemy territory, so to speak. And we did get a little heated, but all the best conversations do. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And we're gonna do this. This is we're only doing this one time. We're only doing this one time. So Funkmaster General, save your money. I didn't add the goal feature. I just started using it, but it is perfect because I don't want one person. I don't want everybody to feel like one person is carrying up the whole channel. And so the goal is a number of super chats based on the number, and we did not meet that goal. But Funkmaster is a gangster. So just this once. The goal is the goal. The goal is the goal. You cannot send your money. I am totally fine with that. But the goal is the goal. But because our boy is so generous, let's do it. What did I say? 15 push-ups? 15 push-ups. All right. Who's gonna do them with me? Let's get swole, baby! Who's in the swole crew? All right, swole crew, let's do our news! over you. Woo, woo. Hey. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, what the fuck you, unwanted foe? I know you're not even here, but you're a fucking bitch. Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you, bitch. Yeah, bitch. Let's go, bitch. All right. I done did it. Somebody should definitely give me another $5 for that. But I done did it. I done did it. Thank you to the Funk Master General. Thank you so very much appreciated. Holding up the whole stream. So the soul got her little bitty bit in there. Thank you. Very much appreciated. Exactly. Pay yourselves, bitch. Bulk up. Ew. All right, guys. Thank you so very much. I hope you will join me in the after party. I think this is going to be a fun one. Thank you. Once again, guys, this is Morty, and I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.